Points. Hello, and welcome to another Broad Points podcast. I am your host, the broad that points, the broad with the points. It's me, Tyler, the lady. For those of you who have waited the additional week while I was unavailable, I was sick, y'all. I was sick. And for those of you who've waited, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because as much as I wanted to record a podcast last week, I just had to sit back. I had to relax, and I had to be patient with myself. Even now, I still feel like my voice is kind of doing weird things. My body, we're getting back to whatever normal is. It's all a transformation, and sometimes in life, we just have to let the dust settle, right? If you're sick, you have to just kind of sit with it. You have to wait until it's over, because I don't know about you, but I know for me, and from the little science that I know, the human body, it wants to heal itself, right? And I've said that before, and I'll continue to say it as a reminder for both yourself and for me. Everything I say, I'm also trying to apply in my life, right? It's all a practice. Everything we do is a practice. And sometimes life just tells us, our body tells us that we need to slow down. Maybe we need to sit down. Maybe we need to lie down. But that will actually take us into our fundamental phrase for the day, coincidentally. And it was one that I do all of the fundamental phrases. I have them all written out. I can see them all in a list, but I do them randomly every week. And so for last week, when I pulled I wrote them all on a little number. I pulled the number for the fundamental phrase. It said, the answer to all questions lie within. And so I have been sitting with this fundamental phrase now for quite some time, and I'm excited to share it with you, because I believe it for you. I believe it for me. I believe it for the person down the street. I believe it for every single person, being that I encounter. The answers to all questions lie within you. And I do joke often that, 70% of the time it's water. We're made up of water, you guys. Like, majority of the time, if you're just drinking other drinks, you're not hydrating yourself to the capacity that you could be if you drink some high quality H2O. And, I'm just thinking, I'm speaking about myself here in this instance. Before I got sick, I was noticing that I was drinking a lot of coffee. And caffeine, you guys, it is a drug. I don't know why people don't talk about caffeine being a drug. Alas, here we are. Caffeine is a drug. And when you're just drinking coffee and you're not drinking water, coffee dehydrates you. Caffeine dehydrates you. And so there is a balance, absolutely. If you enjoy coffee, if you enjoy that little bit of getting pumped up, it's like pre-workout for your day, by all means, please enjoy it. I enjoy myself some coffee until it makes me sick. And I had gone out to see my mother and my grandmother at the casino, and it was a very brief stint of being able to see them. And it was because, I had gone out, I had stayed out later. I don't even like to gamble. I actually kind of hate gambling because for me personally, I like the money that I make. I like to use it on things that are like actually fun and give me enjoyment more than just pressing a button. For me, if I was going to continue to just press buttons, I would have continued to play video games. And I mean, I guess I kind of work an office job, so I am still in a way also pressing buttons. I just don't find that pressing a button to lose my money over and over again in the hopes of maybe it'll work. I don't know, to each their own. If you enjoy gambling, please, by all means. It's not for me. I had gone out, I had seen them, I had stayed out late, I had to drive there and back, which was like an hour or so each way. I drive anywhere for these people. I love my family. I love my friends. Anytime that I can see somebody, anytime I'm blessed with the opportunity to be in someone's schedule, by all means, I'm happy to drive. I am. My body, it was not so happy to drive. I was just so exhausted by the time I got home, and then I was just experiencing some sinus stuff, and then all of a sudden I lost my voice, and bam, no voice. Had I just drank more water, I'm so positive, because I remember sitting in the casino being like, where is a water? Can I please have a water? And like trying to, water in, water out yourself to the proper hydration level. That was me. And I knew, right, the answers to all the questions, they lie within. I knew that I needed more water. I knew I needed more sleep, but I pushed through it. As a result of doing that for multiple days in a row, my body was feeling run down. You may have experienced this in your life. You may be experiencing this right now. You may feel run down. And listening to a podcast is a great way to just simmer down. Sit down. You don't have to even be doing anything right now. Maybe you want to drink some water. Go for it. You know the answers for the questions that you're going to ask. And I always like to tell people, and this is something big with coaching, the difference between coaching and the difference between psychology, right? Psychology, what's wrong with you? Pointing out things. We're examining you. We're looking at, your life, your experiences. Psychology, right? Counseling, those sorts of things. Coaching is me believing as a coach that all of my clients have the answer to all questions within them. Coaching is questioning what's going on. Where are you? How's it going? How well is it working for you? Right? And allowing you to answer. And for me, that level of empowerment, it was not something that I had been taught in that way before. Growing up for me, there was a lot of fake it till you make it. There was a lot of forced confidence. I forced myself into a lot of things thinking from someone else's perspective. Oh, I don't want to disappoint them. But never checking in to say, hey, how can I not disappoint myself? Right? And so really knowing that no one else is going to have your answers. No one else is going to be able to tell you what your next step is if you want to run a marathon this year. For each person, it could be different. Some people might not even have the shoes to run in a marathon. That could be your step one. Some people may have the shoes and they may have their outfit and they may be ready to go, but they haven't stretched yet. So they need to stretch. Everybody can be at different points in the process, and no one can tell you where you're at except for you. And I don't know about you, but I know for me, I had such a hard time with trusting myself. I would listen to the things that were happening in my head, and what my body was telling me, what my mind, my spirit, all of these things were trying to communicate to me. And I was so detached. I was so in belief that I needed to be justified and validated by those around me in order to know where I was. And I like to bring up intuition when I talk about trusting yourself. Because what is intuition, right? And you know I love a definition. So the definition of intuition is the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever been doing something and it just immediately popped into your head and it just made sense? You didn't need to try and explain it away. You didn't need to try and justify it or find the logic because you just knew. You just felt it, right? That's always when I just feel things. And if you're, right, numbing yourself, if you're avoiding yourself, you're not going to notice those things. And how can you trust yourself if you're constantly pushing yourself down? Whether that's with external factors or internal monologue, you're suppressing yourself, you're suppressing your nature, you're suppressing your intuition. And your intuition, it really is a guidance factor. It's a tool that we can use. I think about the neighborhoods in which I grew up, which were not always safe. Where I grew up, depending on which neighborhood you were, depending on what street you crossed, it could be an unsafe neighborhood. The school I went to, it was constantly on lockdown. Like middle school for me, we were constantly on lockdown. I don't even remember class. I just remember hiding under desks because there was always a shooting or a lockdown or, you know, a robbery. It was just one thing after another. And then I would walk home. And I don't say names on this podcast, but I did have a neighbor who was known for molesting one of her students. That I would cut through that little neighborhood. I would walk right by her house on the way home from middle school. After our lockdown with the robbery or the shooting, like, just walk on by. And if you haven't listened to Dionne Warwick, Walk On By, like, check that song out. I'm not going to sing it for you, but it's in my head right now. It's fabulous. Dionne. Trust your intuition, right? Walking around in those neighborhoods, the only way that I was able to stay safe was by listening to my gut, right? And that's another association that people will make to the intuition, to their intuition, is their gut. Usually for me, my gut, it'll be doing something. It'll be grumbling. It'll be tightening. It'll let me know when something is not right. And there were multiple times when I would be walking down the street to work or walking down the street to go home, and you get that feeling if you listen, if you pay attention to it, and if you don't overload it, right? Like, not everything is going to kill you, but so don't lock yourself in your house. It's okay to leave your house, but, like, pay attention. Recognize the signs, trust yourself, trust your gut, and know fully that all of the answers to all of your questions, they lie within you. And when I was sick, I'm like not the most religious person. I honestly don't even really identify as religious, which if my grandma hears that, she'll probably just kill me. We're going to have a Christian intervention here. I can already see it, but I don't regularly like pray to God. I don't regularly read the Bible. Like I don't identify with that. And I think everybody has their own way of working through things, but I feel as though there is a higher power, a higher connection. I believe we're all connected. I believe we're all a part of one. And so when I was really sick, I knew that the answers were within me. And I go to my gut, I go to my heart, and I just pray to those things. Right? And RuPaul, we talked about his prayer at the end of it where he's asking for guidance. He's asking for guidance for his thoughts, his perceptions, and feelings. And by really focusing on, I just want your guidance. I just want to be in alignment. That was really what I was praying for in the moments when I felt so ill, when I couldn't communicate, when I couldn't contain myself. I would just sit there and I would just pray, and I would just pray for guidance of my thoughts, my feelings, and my perceptions. For my thoughts, my feelings, and my perceptions. Because no matter what the situation is, it can be perceived differently. Right? I could be laying in bed, unable to move. My body could be sore, and I could be like, I'm dying, help me. It's not really as productive as my body is working as it should. My body is working overtime to eliminate the virus or bacteria or whatever is contaminating my system. It's all about perspective. We have so many different ways that we can view things, and it really all starts within us. So by letting that dust settle, right, we're able to find the clarity. And if you're thinking about meditation in this instance, right, meditation, prayer, whatever, what have you, you think about the blank canvas. You think about wanting things to just flow by like clouds. Sometimes it's a stormy day in your mind, right? And all those clouds are going crazy and you don't know which way is up from down. And that is okay. And when I found myself in those really dark moments, I just sat there and I just would say one word to myself. Thinking. Because in those moments, I wasn't feeling the pain. I wasn't truly hurting in those moments. I was thinking. I was giving myself anxiety about the future, about how on earth am I going to be able to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G? I have planned this whole week. And it honestly became 2 weeks of being sick. So I have planned 2 weeks of activities, events, seeing people, seeing things, doing things. And sometimes you just have to sit with it. You just have to be with it. And you just have to say, hey girl, you're not even being sick right now. You're just thinking. And not in a bad way. It's not like I'm putting myself down. I'm just like, we're thinking. We're noting the fact that we're thinking. Because once we realize that we're thinking, we can tune back into our bodies. If it's the breath for you, it's the breath. Maybe it's feeling your toes. Maybe it's feeling your hands. Maybe it's stretching or rolling your neck out or doing a little dance. But when we're not thinking or overthinking, we can feel. We can change what we're viewing and how we're viewing it once we recognize that we're the ones that's conducting this story in our heads. And once those skies clear up, you'll be able to create the foundation that you want to build on. Right? I don't know about you, but if I was going to build a new building, I wouldn't want it to be on some cracked, dusty foundation. No way. I want a solid foundation. I want a place to come back to where I feel secure, I feel comfortable, I feel confident. We want stability in our home, so why not introduce stability in our lives, in that internal monologue? Trust ourselves and just really take the time to step back and learn who you are. Because you don't have to try to be anything. You don't have to go out and find yourself. Everything, it's all right within you, and you are right here, and you don't have to try to be, you're just being. So, again, thank you so much for your patience with me. Well, my body went through this last transition. And don't forget that you can follow me so that you know when the episodes are gonna be coming out. I am at Broadpoints or at Tyler the Lady on all of my social media platforms. You can find me there. I might not always be active, you guys, but they're there. Instagram, I promise you, I will always post on Instagram what is going to happen. I don't know why that has become kind of my preferred platform over the years. I'm trying to get into integrating more and maybe integrating them through a platform that connects them all. But one thing at a time, right? I have to take it one step at a time, just like you have to take it one step at a time, y'all. And if you do decide that you want to send me an email, well, absolutely, tootly, you can. It is broadpointspodcast@gmail.com. And just one more time, because you know I just have not said it enough in this episode, the fundamental phrase for the week. The answer to all questions lie within.